So two things that you've told me about your intentions are that one of them is that you want this to encourage people to see that art is available to all and that people can do what you have done, which is to sort of exercise emotional experience through mark making. Can you tell me why is that important to you?
I think there's a couple of reasons for me. One is the dominant view of what art is and what it means to be an artist is segregated for artists that make money for stuff or arts of a certain quality, and really that idea that it is a process that's available to anyone if they find it helpful and they might enjoy it. To let go of an outcome that is just for you, it has no purpose whatsoever, it doesn't have to have a purpose, and as long as it is beneficial for you in some way, I think that's the first thing.
And just sorry, also that you don't even really have to enjoy doing it. I think there's just this idea of that you should really enjoy art, and I think it's good if it meets some need, but it doesn't, might not feel that great and you might not like it, and that's all right.
What are you doing it for? Really, why bother?
I want to share parts of me and share parts of me with you as well, and particularly those parts that feel really difficult for others to see, and that even I've tried to I've judged and tried to banish or ignore over the years, and and hopefully connect with other people through that, and for people to maybe see that it's those parts in them too.
For me it's a similar thing. I wonder if I'd be doing it if I was doing it as a solo exhibition. It feels less appealing if it was. So there is a big part of it about us both sharing this stuff together, and I guess supporting each other in sharing this stuff together. And it would be a lot easier to not share stuff together or to not do it. So there's something about that. It feels like a next level of that vulnerable expression, to do it with someone else, but someone who I trust and whose work inspires me as well.
There's another step with the trust, which you talked about in things that you've sent me, the press releases and the comments you've made, which is putting something out into the world where it might feel very exposing. So can you tell me about that problem or delightful opportunity in relation to this exhibition? Why is feelings are real relevant to that idea about exposure?
Yeah, I think for me it's been quite a gradual process, and that helps, kind of like nudging myself a bit more and sharing a bit more, and also sharing things with Steve, and that's like really helped that process as well. And it started for me in little notebooks where it'd often be like a physical sensation that I would try and express on paper, which also really helped with that thing of having an idea, not like how could you get a thought down on paper, and that could feel disappointing in the past, like an idea of something I wanted to make. But if it's just sort of an attempt at making some physical sensation that's going on in my body, then can't really get it wrong. It might not feel quite right, but it's just interesting what comes out and surprising. And then doing that and then connecting with people through doing that, whether it's like someone I just show a notebook, or whether it's sharing it online, or through other sort of art projecty stuff, and then people saying like, oh, like I love that, or oh, I feel like that, or whatever it is.
So there's a recognition that people sometimes acknowledge.
Yeah.
And what does that feel like when they say that?
Yeah, I like it, particularly when it is something that's much harder, or like a harder thing to feel that I've shared. It's, yeah, that goes to kind of the sharing of something that feels more shameful. And that could be, it can happen in conversation when you tell someone something, but it can also be this, I've painted this or drawn this thing from this like really difficult place that might be a lot of shame and judgment, and then I've put it out there and shared with someone or people, and it's actually all right. It's okay.
You talked about how you like to expose shame to the light because that kind of does something, diffuses it. Can you explain a bit more about that, and by all means mention your TEDx if that's relevant?
Yeah, so that's been my interest for a while, is what's all that dark, shameful, ugly, horrible stuff in me, and that I could never tell anyone. And just started by talking with people, like talking with you early on when I started doing this work, and people go, all right, yeah, I get it. And it's like, well, you're not going to abandon me and never speak to me again. So there was that relief as well. And this idea, Simon Coviccia, my friend, a therapist, said to me once that shame thrives in the shadows, and the more light you can bring on it, the more its power diminishes. So it was just that idea of what's the biggest stages that I can put my shame on to see what happens. And that's where the TEDx happened. Like bringing my self-doubt and shame onto a massive stage that was watched by like 100,000 people or whatever it is. And nothing bad happened. In fact, people saw something in it, which is that other bit of like, you're not alone in this as well. And I think that's what I'm still learning to do. There's still things that I will create, and I think I can't possibly put that out there. That will be too much for people to witness. And well, maybe it is, but they've never told me. It just always seems to help in that way.
People seem to really, really appreciate it as a gift, actually. And again, bearing in mind what you said, nobody's actually said something unkind to you, but quite often it seems that you do hear people being really grateful for this gift that you've put out, thinking it was awful.
Yeah, and the wonderful thing that I've learned about abstract art is people will see in it whatever they need to see. So it's not like saying, these are my feelings, this is like a flow chart of it all. And people may see something completely different in it. And then that's wonderful. And that's one of the things that we want from this exhibition, is people to get something and see something themselves in the work, and then encourage them to do a similar thing.
You've called it Feelings Are Real, and you've mentioned that it covers a wide range of different feelings. Did you at any point kind of audit, have we got enough of this feeling? Have we got too much of this feeling? How have you worked on that?
No, we didn't audit it based on feelings, I don't think. It was more of, maybe it's a backward process, but I think it's the way that at least my brain works, and I think we probably do. It's like, here's a load of stuff that has some sort of resonance with a feeling that we'd like to exhibit, and then sort of put it into categories based on that. Mm-hmm. So maybe it was a backwards way of doing it.
So you're imposing a pattern with hindsight?
Yeah, so we printed out everything that could possibly be in it, and then sort of invented a weird game that didn't make sense to put them into different buckets and categories, just to like narrow it down a bit.
By emotion. The categories and buckets are, what can you describe the categories and buckets?
So we found that there was one category that we kept finding, which was, I just need to get this out of me. So often that would be, we both use like small sketchbooks sometimes, and it means they can go anywhere. And so it's just this kind of, absolutely have to just do this right now, and that's all I can do. And and then and then we found there was another section that was more like things we'd taken time over, and maybe like they'd been in each of our studios, and we'd kept adding to it over time, and it was like, maybe this bit as well could be added, or something exploring, or And then there's a lot of creatures in both of our works, so that. But I don't know if this will be the categories we'll actually use in the exhibition, but it helped us think about it.
Yeah. Right. I think the categories are maybe processes by which we express stuff like that. Got to get it out, and taking time, and also themes of things that we do, like little mini projects that we've had about stuff. But that's one of the things that we've been talking about and working out, is how much do you label everything, like this is where it's come from, this is what it is, versus how much do you let the visitor work that out for themselves. So I always tend to sway towards less explanation, because my gut feel is to over-explain everything, so to explain less. But that was the process by which we sort of selected. And then I think on the day we'll end up including stuff or excluding stuff as we hang it.
It comes back to what we were saying earlier about this kind of circle of trust. So you've got this kind of trust with each other when you're working, and am I going too far? Am I drawing on the other person's drawing or whatever? But then also breaking that into a wider audience by putting on an exhibition. So how do you, on a moment by moment basis, how do you handle that slightly wider exposure?
Yeah, it feels different with different pieces of art. With some stuff maybe I've shared before, and that, so for some, that sort of feels less like a big deal. And then with some things they're new, but to sharing with other people, but still feels okay. And then there's some things which I'm feeling a lot more sort of vulnerable about putting out there. And there's some stuff I'm not even sure whether to include yet.
And certainly the way that you're talking about this particular art and the kind of the vulnerability, and Steve, you were using the word shame, it sounds a bit like this is very much a piece of you. Can you see how that's different from what other kinds of artists maybe are doing?
I don't know what other artists' process is, so maybe that's what everyone is doing. I'd know if I wasn't doing it. So I've had moments of thinking, I'm going to make this because people will like it, and then I'd end up not liking it and no one else does. Whereas the stuff that's really just me expressing something other people seem to connect with. But I think the other thing about this exhibition is it's in a public space, which I know most galleries are public space, but people have to walk through it if they want to go to the library. So there may be people that absolutely hate it but also have to walk through it, or there may be people that wouldn't be visiting the exhibition but walk through it and go, oh, what's this? So that's another dimension that I've not experienced before. So I could just imagine some people walking through every time and just going, oh, just want to get to the library. I don't want any of this feeling stuff.
One thing that occurs to me listening to you, not just then but particularly then, is how important connection is. And you could almost say that the art is kind of not really relevant. You're just doing this thing to create lots of connection, to get a sense of connection. Of course the art is relevant because you're saying people might see things in it and feel some sort of recognition, and you will have a connection with them and with each other. Connection. Can you ever get enough connection?
I find that something I've been thinking about, and maybe I'll take this in a weird random place, but I think that often in relationship to humans I do worry about whether there's enough connection, and whether it might be if I visited my family and then when I'm leaving I will think, I haven't spent enough time here, or my mum is sad and as I'm saying goodbye, and maybe I didn't spend enough time with her or have enough meaningful time with her. Or in groups I might think, have I said enough or done enough, or the way I said that thing, did I say it well enough, and have I shown enough of myself? And so for me personally, it's definitely something I can anxiously whir my brain on, and I think I'd really like to be a bit more at peace with that, just there is enough, there will be enough. I'm sure I have it about now, like there'll be things I wish I'd shared more of or said better or whatever, or in order to connect better with you, with everyone here, with you, and then whoever watches this. So yeah, but I'd like it to feel a bit more peaceful.
Thank you. Steve?
Yeah, I've come to realise more that there's an completely insatiable need for connection that can never be satisfied, and accepting that or being okay with that is hard but really helpful, and it means I'm less attached to it being anything in particular, particularly the exhibition. It is whatever it is, but I realise that there can never feel for me that amount of connection. It's like, that's enough for my life now. And maybe that's just me. Maybe that's part of being human.
Where is the exhibition and when?
The exhibition's at the Barbican Library from the 5th of February to the 27th, and the private view's on Thursday the 6th. And it's all day, so there's slots, hourly slots through the day.
What do you hope even if it's formless and you haven't really thought it through and you don't have a schedule or a plan of things that you're going to say, what do you hope people will get from the private view experience?
I know I'll be a more relaxed version of myself in a smaller group, so that I guess like connection with us and with the art as well, and maybe like those kind of evening events can be like fun and buzzy, but it's like, I don't know. I like the idea of it feeling, more intimate and sort of quieter and slower, and maybe other people will like that as well. But I think we've kind of made what we would like to go to more. So other people might be like, no, I want alcohol on a party, but...
Because I'm not you, I'm not either of you, I'm me. I'm thinking, gosh, those people who go to the private view are going to have a really privileged experience. And maybe you're not seeing it that way, I don't know. Is there anything in your mind that feels like you're thinking about it that way?
Yeah, I imagine it will be a different or a unique experience for people. It's sort of like come and wander around in our brains and our hearts for an hour.
I've also just remembered that when I've done exhibitions before and people have come along and I've like maybe met them there or at the private view, I haven't really known what to do with myself. So I'm wondering if it will be like that. Like, do I stand near them? Do I want to give them space so they don't feel crowded to have a reaction to the art or whatever. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I imagine starting with saying to each group, what would you like to do? So you can just walk around if you want, or we can come around with you, or what do you want to do? And that itself will be an interesting experiment.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.